All right. So now we're live for real, and we're not playing Cult of the Lamb. We're playing nothing. We're talking about Dungeons and Dragons and tabletop. That's what we're doing tonight. All right. So let's do this again. Look at the stark contrast between our two visuals. I'm in like the dark shadows of like a cave, and like you are in this bright, beautiful apartment. I'm like this creature of darkness, barely making it on mushrooms and rats that I forage in the dark, and you're just like waiting for Grubhub to show up. It's just amazing. All right, so we're gonna talk about getting people hooked on tabletop, and I have this visual right here of the Hero Quest. The Hero Quest is a game by Milton Bradley, which used to be a games company, which is now owned by, I'm pretty sure, Hasbro, because there's only a couple of corporations that own everything. This was in partnership with Games Workshop. Yeah, there we go. And it was bananas, right? When this came out, this was mind-blowing shit. This was good stuff. This game is made for 9-year-olds to adults. That's what it says on the box, 9 to adult. And it could have 2 to 5 players, one of which had to be Zargon, the evil wizard, who was basically the dungeon master. There were clear step-by-step rules. There was gridded map of the dungeon. This was turn-based, grid-based combat in a fantasy setting where you leveled up your character in between play sessions. What does that sound like? That's a tabletop role-playing game. That's what that is. And this is what hooked me as a child on Dungeons and Dragons, and this is my drug of choice for hooking youngsters. Man, this video seems so problematic. This is my weapon of choice for corrupting the minds of the youths. But no, honest to God, if you are trying to get casuals into Dungeons and Dragons or into tabletop role-playing games, you cannot go wrong with a game like Hero Quest. Now, some people out there are going to be like, what about Descent? No. Descent is not a dungeon crawler. Descent is a asymmetric skirmisher. It's a totally different thing. This is a real dungeon crawler with real character progression and real like decision making that takes place in the game. Resource allocation. This is the good shit right here. And it was recently re-released by Hasbro. And they got rid of a lot of the problematic elements. They brought in boy-flavored and girl-flavored character models. There's I think there's a single-player mode, and there's also a co-op mode where no one has to play as the DM. Pretty damn good stuff. But this has been the most successful tool in my toolbox for getting casuals and youngsters to understand Dungeons & Dragons and get excited about Dungeons & Dragons. You got a board game group. They meet up. You suggest this board game for a couple of weeks. Trust me, they're going to want to play some real Dungeons & Dragons after a couple of times playing this. They're going to be like, ooh, I like where this is going. I like this. I wish it had a little bit more. I want a little bit more out of it. And then that's where you should say, hey, have I got news for you? Have I got news for you? So, hey, what's up there, QuinnStone42? Yeah, I think that Hero Quest is the penultimate get people hooked on the game scenario. Now, I have worked for Cool Mini or Not, who is now CMON, who is now, I guess, a subsidiary of Asmongold, excuse me. Asmongold doesn't own a board game company yet that I know of. But I worked conventions for them, teaching people how to play games and things like that. And I still feel that of all the games that I've introduced people to and shown people, this was, for me, the most successful way to get people into and hooked on the concept of tabletop. Now, without the aid of Hero Quest, I have had a couple of events I've worked where I did like some kids' birthdays. I did some parties where people wanted to play Dungeons & Dragons with people that had never played before. And we didn't get to have the Hero Quest buffer. We just jumped right in to some Dungeons and Dragons, to some tabletop role-playing games. And I'm going to tell you what I know about doing that, I hope. And so you ask the questions, and I'll give you the answers, Dom. So what do you want to know about getting people? If we didn't have Hero Quest, what do we do? Ask me. I'm ready.
Okay. I guess like what are the things that you should like think about when you're running, brand new people through tabletop RPG, whatever system you're running in, whether it's Pathfinder, that's beginner box, or like Lost Mines. Like, what is the first thing you should probably like think about that is completely different from when you're running with people who have at least played tabletop RPGs before?
All right, so to modernize this question, the first counter question I'm going to ask, is this going to be face-to-face, or is this going to be online?
Online.
All right, that changes everything. Okay. All right, so if you're trying to get people hooked on D&D face-to-face, you got to have them good drinks, you got to have them good snacks, you got to have some very easy to read and understand character sheets with some basic ass characters. I will often, in a face-to-face game, I will often create what I call the one-page character sheet. So I will take the character sheets from the starter box and I will boil that shit down so that it is like a page, period. They are not allowed to have any content past a page. Very difficult with spellcasting characters to do that. But everybody needs to be able to look and see everything on that one piece of paper. IRL game, of course. Also, dig out your dice collection. Get ready to sacrifice some of the sets you don't need anymore. Nothing gets people more excited about playing D&D again than being given their own set of dice after the first session. And then they're like, that's like a souvenir. They like have those dice. They remember how it felt to roll those dice. I find that like hooking people on D&D face-to-face is actually even easier than hooking people on D&D online.
That's what happened to me.
Yeah, exactly. You got you had them good drinks, and you had them good snacks, and you had that free set of dice, and it feels real good. And then if the guy or girl or person running the game also has some cute or cool miniatures, and like the maps looking nice, man, what an experience. Like, it's like the first date, Like, you want to wow them in that face-to-face session. You don't want to just show up and be pulling that out of your ass. Like, you really want to kind of show up and deliver, right, in that first session, because that's that first impression of you as a game master and also of the experience of playing that face-to-face game. So the preparations and the things that I recommend that you do for face-to-face, way different than online. So let's address online. Step 1, you better know exactly what you're doing with the VTT that you intend to use. All right? Because these people are very busy, they're overworked, they're trying to survive in a modern corporate dystopia. They've carved out some of their free time that they don't have a lot of to try something new, right? Nowadays, nobody wants to try something new. People want to do something fun and comforting with their free time. They don't want to try something new. So you've managed to convince these people to try something new. You better know what you're fucking doing, right? If I show up to hang out with you for 4 hours on my Friday night after I worked all week, and you spend most of the night fighting with the technology, not understanding how it works, not understanding what needs to go where, not being able to answer my questions about the technology, I'm having tech issues that you can't help me with, I'm gone. I'm done. I'm disconnected, and I'm not going to reconnect to this experience. That's just how it is. So the challenge of recruiting new people to the hobby via VTT, insurmountably higher. It's pretty easy to get a hold of some good snacks and some good drinks and some extra sets of dice. I mean, that shit's easy to come by compared to proficiency in a VTT. For you, obviously, not a problem. Foundry Sage, but for and tech savvy, but for like the average Joe, I mean, if you want to be the one that's bringing people into the hobby, you need to take the extra time and put in the extra work to really be masterful with the tools that you are utilizing, because they can't get in the way of you providing that first game experience. So that's the first big step, is you got to be really good with the tools. The second thing is, and this is going to make sense, you got to know the fucking rules. Okay? Yeah, like if I signed up for a class and the teacher didn't know what the hell they were talking about, I would probably want my money back, right? So if I sign up for this game, if you convince me to like not spend the evening with my wife that I barely got to see all week, and we were going to have a nice date night, but you're like, nah, this is great, trust me, you're going to love it. And I'm like, all right, I'll cancel what I'm going to come do this. And then I show up and you don't even know how to play? Listen, when I used to be in the board game community and I would go to a board game night, if the motherfucker running that board game night had not read the rules for the game ahead of time, I was hot. I was so mad. If you're hosting game night and you're hosting game night and you picked out the game and you don't actually know how to play the game, and we all got to sit there and read a 45-page rule book together? No. That's no. That's not going to happen. So yeah, when people show up to play, the expectation is you invited them to play the game because you know how to play the game. Do not invite these people over so that you can read the rule book together. Like, you've invited these people because you are proficient in the game and you want to teach them the game. You don't want to learn the game with them. I'm seeing a lot of that with, everybody trying out Pathfinder. And it's like, yeah, let's learn together. And it's like, you'll notice that I have not posted such a game. I am not going to ask people to hang out with me to learn Pathfinder. And I'm certainly not going to charge them to, right? And so my thing is, we're going to, like what you did with Cyberpunk. You said, hey, these games are free. I'm looking for people to help me learn. That's much different than saying, hey, I got this amazing thing over here. It's so good. Come try it out with me. And then they show up and you're like, well, I mean, I think it's good. I don't know. I haven't really done it myself, Like a certain Sphinx is doing to a set of Greek adventurers right now, where she she maybe made some false claims. Like, you don't want to be in that situation. So, step 1, know the VTT. Step 2, know the rules. All right, so what's step 3? Now we can start trying to emulate that face-to-face experience. So we don't have any minis, we don't have any Dwarven Forge, but you know what we could have? Some sexy-ass maps. Now, if you're doing Pathfinder, they taking care of you, baby, because they got it set up real nice. They got it set up real nice for you. If maybe you're not doing that, maybe you're doing something else, some other starter box, I'm going to put it out there. This starter box has been out long enough that you should be able to find some real good maps and some real good minis for this one. So, yeah, 2 different starter boxes, obviously, 2 totally different flavors of game. But, like, again, of all of the starter boxes, I'm still feeling like Lost Mine of Phandelver is a winner. Like, I think it's just strong. And it's been out long enough that you're going to be able to find a lot of good stuff to help you run it. All right. So going back to finding stuff, right? You got to make sure you got good visuals. You want to wow them, right? You want to wow them. When they sit down, they don't want to see that you're drawing with like a digital marker on a piece of digital grid paper. Like, we have the technology, you know what I'm saying? We need to have good looking stuff. We have the tools, we have the technology. You are doing the game yourself and your future players a disservice if you don't put in the extra work. You notice I keep saying this is going to be a lot of work to go and make sure you got the good maps and the good minis. What about the dice? You said give out free dice to the people that show up to learn. Well, I can't give out free dice online, but you know what you can do? If you're running in Foundry, you make sure you got Dice So Nice set up. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you make sure you have Dice So Nice set up, and you take a few minutes before you even start the game, and you teach them how to customize their dice. Yeah. Teach them how to customize their dice, because it sounds silly. it sounds pretty frivolous to do that, but I'm telling you what, it's going to make a big difference because that's going to be their dice, and they're going to watch those dice appear all night on the screen, and they're going to say, those dice look so cool. I made those dice. Nice. And that's the closest you're going to get to giving them their own set of dice to take home at the end of the night, so you better make sure you have that installed. If you're over on Roll20, I don't know the dice situation anymore over there. I know they got 3D dice. Make sure you got them 3D dice turned on though, because I know that that's a setting you can have them turned off. So at least have them turned on over there.
One thing I'm worried though is that some of them are console gamers and not PC gamers. So I don't know how I think their PCs might be I don't know what potato scale their PCs are going to be on. So that's going to be one of those things.
So this brings up another great thing. We're trying to make the experience as smooth and as painless as possible. If you're on Foundry, you need to be getting the laptop. What is that one called? That Orf found? It's like laptop form fit or something like that. There's Yeah, we gotta get the list of all like the shitty computer ones. But there's the laptop mod. There's the potato or not, and you just gotta tell people like, hey. No shame at all. Lie to them. Say like, yeah, I run shitty potato. Of course, everybody should. Only run like the better settings if you've got like the most extreme. If you could run Minecraft with like high definition shaders, like with no draw distance limitations, then you could have golden potato. But other than that, you just run shitty potato, and they're never gonna know the difference. It's like watching TV before you have an HDTV. Start them out on shitty potato, then you know for sure that the game's going to run smooth for them. You know what I mean? Yeah. Someone in chat points out, Quinstone42 says, don't forget the dice bag. It's tradition to have a random Crown Royal bag as a first dice bag. Well, I don't drink a lot of Crown Royals, so I don't have too many of those bags left to hand out. But I will tell you this, you go onto Amazon, you could get like 10 sets of dice with 10 dice bags for I think like less than $20. So yeah, it's very, very affordable to have a bunch of dice sets just laying around to hand out to new players.
I went to go look for my dice bag, but
oh, your Crown Royal dice bag?
I think it's purple. I think I have it.
I have the limited edition green Crown Royal dice bag. You can't really see because maybe it's too dark. There it is. Ooh, yeah, got that from Wesley actually. All right, so going back to the VTT though, you gotta have the maps, you gotta have the minis, you gotta have all the mods that are gonna make the experience enjoyable. So you're going to want to make sure that they are turning their settings way down. You're going to make sure that you're not running too heavy, right? Like, don't run all this crazy shit. Until you know what the players are, their computers are capable of, don't run all this wild, crazy shit. Maybe have a couple of colored lights, but don't go nuts with the animations. Don't go nuts with, like, the teleporters and all the shading and all that kind of stuff in Foundry. Over there in Roll20, if you're running API scripts on your Roll20 world, make sure that they're API scripts that the players don't have to do anything on their end. Make sure that everything that you're doing is on your end and it is not going to be too impactful on the player's experience. You want to make sure that you are building your beginner world, that you're doing your intro game to the lowest common denominator. They are using grandma's old laptop. That's what you have to build around. You cannot run a successful game night for random noobs and normies and be like, I don't understand. Like, they were so upset. Like, two of them couldn't even get the scene to load. Well, that's a terrible game night. You know what I'm saying? You want to make sure that you are building around a shitty ass computer. Do not try to wow them with visual effects beyond good maps and good minis and 3D dice. That's all you need. You don't need all the bells and whistles. You don't need all the animations and all the other crazy shit. Just make sure that they can get in and play the game. Later on, you introduce that stuff when you know that their computers can handle it. Trust me.
Yeah.
The initial stuff is more than enough. You don't need to wow them that much. You need to make sure that they can actually log in and play the game. Butler Log points out, honestly, less is more with animations and such, because the more you make it video gamey, the more a normie will be disappointed by it, because it will look just like a video game or worse. Exactly. So, now that we've established all that, we're finally there, right? We're finally in the game. So, what do we do for these new normies to make them understand the game? All right, so 5e D&D, it's very simple. Well, it's not simple at all, but it's very simple in the explanation that I give people. I say you're going to try to roll dice, and you always want to get high numbers. That's it. You want to roll dice, and you want to get high numbers. Now, I mentioned that when I run face-to-face 5e, I will take any given starter character, any prefab character has to fit on one piece of paper, and that's it. And on that sheet, I will have something like melee attack, D20 plus this, and then damage blank, and that's it. And then I'll say ranged attack, D20 plus this, and then the dice and the damage that they roll, and that'll just apply to any melee attack they make and any ranged attack they make, period. And I'll just keep it that simple to get them into the game, right? Because I don't want them to be like, well, I want to attack, and it's like, okay, well, what do you want to attack with? And then they look at their sheet, and they got a longbow, and they got a longsword, and they got a dagger, and they've got a dart. What is a dart? I don't know. Like, do I throw that at a dartboard? What does the dart mean? And then I've got this, and I got that. I have an unarmed strike. What does that mean? Instead, I'm like, are you hitting the guy next to you? That's melee. Are you hitting the guy that's far away from you? That's ranged attack. And that's it. And I'll even include that with like spellcasters and stuff like that. I'll say that like the spellcaster, you know, I'll just use their intelligence modifier or their charisma modifier or whatever to set the dice for the attack. I'll keep it as absolutely simple as possible for them. If they are playing a spellcaster, I will give them like a description of a spell, and I'll say you could use this as many times as you want, and then I'll give them another spell, and I'll have like two little circles next to it, and I'll be like, you can use this twice during the adventure, and then I'll have another one, it'll have like one circle next to it, I'll be like, you can use this once during the adventure, and that's it. They won't have a whole fucking spell book, they won't have all this other stuff going around. I'll keep it as simple as possible. Now, we do and do not have that same luxury in VTT. You could certainly go in to your VTT and you could pare down the character sheet, and you could like restrict the character sheet to be a lot more simple. But you don't have the power unless you're good at making custom character sheets in a VTT environment, which who the fuck is that? So IRL, I can go into Photoshop and I can make a custom simplified character sheet, print it out, looks really nice, it's very simple. I can handwrite one to make it very simple. Online, the character sheet kind of is what it is. So they're going to see that they have all these things, and it's going to be very overwhelming to see all those things.
This is one of the reasons why I kind of chose Pathfinder, because there's actually a little filter button on their character sheet where you can just hide things that you don't use. Like if you're not a spellcaster, you can just completely hide the spell tab completely. If you don't want them to worry about inventory, you can just hide the inventory screen completely on their character sheet. So when they open up their character sheet, they only need like two tabs: the stuff that has their name and how fast they are, and then their actions.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Something that I found that works really well, if you are using Foundry with tidy sheets, you can favorite the things that are the most relevant for each character. You could go in on each character and you could favorite it and say you're only going to need the things on this front page of your sheet. I've already favorited all the things that you're going to need for tonight's game. You're welcome to explore the rest of the character sheet, but everything you need is going to be on the front page. It's going to be right here. Another option is, and I do this for 5th edition when I run games VTT for new people, is I will give them monster character sheets. So I will turn a starter box character into a monster character sheet on VTT, because that is a single page. Everything is just right there. Like, they've got their melee attack, they got their ranged attack, they got a couple of special abilities and spells, bam, done. Everybody's got the same layout, everybody's got the same thing, and it's very simple. You're just using a monster character sheet. And I feel like for people that have never played any sort of VTT tabletop before, or any kind of tabletop in general, a 5th edition monster character sheet is way less intimidating than a full character sheet would be. So something else to consider. Something else to consider. So now that we kind of have it set up, right? We've got it set up. We have to start playing the game with them. What are we doing? And Butler Log's pointing this out here. You have to show why this is better than just playing a video game. So what we want to do is you've got to go in and present up front like a Star Wars movie. Give them the prologue. Tell them, like, this is why you're here, and this is what you're doing, and this is what we're trying to do. And then you go round robin around the circle, and you say, let's talk about everybody's character. Ah, you chose Dumbledore, the dwarf, and he's about this, and the things that he's good at is this, this, and this. And oh, you chose Ragnar, the warrior, and the things that he's good at are this, and the things that you might want to focus on are that. And then you kind of go around, and everybody learns about everybody's character, and they get a sense of what's going on. And then if those characters have any sort of tie to the prologue, you would also bring that in. You say, well, Ragnar, you love this tavern. You've been coming here since you were a teenager, and you would do anything for the tavern owner, and this, that, and the other thing. And you kind of give them that sort of like, you are the director, right? And these are young actors, and you are giving them directions, right? You're giving them things to build off of and go off of and whatnot in the game. And then you ease. Everything is about easing it in. Everything's about easing it in. So you would have that first encounter, and maybe Gundren Rockseeker, or I don't know what the tavern lady's name is in the Pathfinder one. Elsie, Tamily. Okay, so you got Gundren in one universe, and you got Tamily in another one, right? They approach the party. So right away, you want to set the scene. You want to flavor text it real good. You want to be like, hey, it's like this, and there's stuff here, and there's all that. If you are good at flavor text, the adventure should have some. If you don't think the adventure has enough flavor text, I would say describe or just chat GTP or whatever. Like, just ask the AI to come up with some extra flavor text if you're not good at just describing a scene. But since you are preparing ahead of time, kind of put in a little bit of work, right? Have some extra flavor text there, stuff to really kind of build it and bring them into the world. Don't go too heavy though, just enough to kind of set the scene for them, and keep explaining to them that, like, you are the game engine, they are the VR players, right? Like, you are Westworld, and they are the rich tourists that have come to Westworld, right?
I don't know if I want to use that.
Maybe Westworld's the wrong idea. But yeah. So basically, you wanna introduce it with a little bit of role play, and you want to say, like, as part of the prologue. So Gundren in one universe, and what was her name?
Emily.
Emily. All right, Emily in the other world. And Emily says, we have all sorts of food going missing in the basement. All my stocks, all my wares, they keep disappearing. And if it keeps up like this, I'm going to be out of business. And then you say, she turns to each of you, her eyes pleading, wanting your help. And then you say, what does Ragnar do? And then everybody would be like, I don't know. I don't know what Ragnar does. And you say, no, it's okay. Like, we're like kids playing make-believe right now, right? So I'm Emily, and I'm like, and I said this to you, and now don't be embarrassed. We're all here. We're just having fun. Like, what would Ragnar say? Like, if you were Ragnar, what would Ragnar say? And if they're like, I don't know. I don't know what Ragnar would say. You just say, hey, what would you say? What would you say, right? And then they're like, oh, well, I would say, yeah, sure, we'll go check it out. Do you have any clues or extra information? And then you're like, yeah. And so as soon as they bite the hook, as soon as they are engaging with you, that's where you're like, praise. So much praise. Just praise them. Praise them constantly. Everything they do. Everything they do, you praise it. Building on that, once they start thinking creatively, no matter how stupid their ideas are, no matter how dumb shit they are, make it happen. Make it work. If they're like, oh, I got a great idea. I'm gonna pick up this barrel and I'm gonna carry it back up the stairs. And then I'm gonna push the barrel back down the stairs so it'll go faster. And then like Donkey Kong, the barrel's gonna knock the guys down. You know what's gonna happen? That fucking barrel's gonna knock those guys down. Okay? That's what's going to happen. You're going to make sure that that barrel knocks those guys down, or you're at least going to lean into it. You're going to say, hey, that's a really cool idea. I'm going to say that they have to make a reflex save, or I'm going to say that they have to make an acrobatics check to get out of the way of that. Why don't you give me an attack roll and add your strength bonus? That'll be the difficulty that they have to overcome. Really kind of like show them that they aren't just playing the game, they are making the game. They are making the game happen. A video game still can't let you do that, right? Like, one of the things I like about Breath of the Wild is it's a puzzle game, but it also lets you solve puzzles a lot of different ways, right? It's one of the few puzzle games that actually lets you think outside the box and just come up with some wild ass shit.
Yeah.
That's how you need to approach running D&D, especially for new people. New people need to feel like this is different. This is something unique. This is something that I can think outside the box. I can think creatively. I can do stuff. Now, you don't want to you don't want them to learn the game wrong though, right? So that's where the second step comes in of mastery of the rules, right? So you want to be good at the VTT, but you also want to be knowledgeable of the rules so that you can make these kinds of calls, right? Like I haven't run any Pathfinder, but I have downloaded like all 600 pages of rules into my brain, right? Yeah.
Like that situation, I guess what I would do is say, okay, I mean you got three Pac-Men, so one is to pick up the barrel, one is to run, another one's to push it down.
There you go. It's going to take all three of your Pac-Mans, but you roll that check. I'm going to make that the difficulty for them to avoid it, and if it hits, let them do big damage, knock them down, the whole deal, right? Make it worth 3 Pac-Mans to them. But you want to make sure that they have that. Also, someone in chat is saying it's the same concept of telling a story together around a campfire. Give people a hero point every time they roleplay or do something cool. And going back to 5th edition, give them inspiration all the time. All the time. Inspiration all the time. That is your gold star sticker. That is your food pellet for the lab rat. You want to constantly keep them engaged and constantly keep them coming back. Hero points and inspiration make sure that people, even if they're having bad rolls, are still having an opportunity to not have bad rolls. They're having an opportunity to succeed, right? So now something else that was pointing out in chat: do not kill them. Do not kill them. Do not kill them. If you're playing Pathfinder 2nd edition beginner box, for that matter, I've got the asshole on the shelf right over here. If you've got Pathfinder 1st edition beginner's box, if you've got Lost Mines of Phandelver, there's a lot of times where it's going to kill your players. It is going to kill your players. What you want to do as part of your preparation for running this stuff is research. Look it up. Be like, hey, are there any places that I should be concerned about TPKs? Because this adventure right here, Dom has not played this adventure. Dom knows that them goblins in the first encounter, they famous. They infamous. There's a bugbear named Clark. Motherfucker gonna one-shot you. He gonna take you out of this world, okay? I haven't played the box set for Pathfinder 2nd edition, but I tell you what, I've heard about a lot of TPKs. There's maybe a green dragon in this adventure. I don't know if that's a spoiler.
Look, I mean, I don't know, maybe.
That's a TPK machine. The Pathfinder 1st edition, I got it over here somewhere. Where you at? Here. Yeah, okay. So look who we had in the 1st edition. It's a black dragon. And guess who caused the TPK in this one? The black dragon. It's the same thing, okay? And also, in Lost Mines of Phandelver, there's another green dragon. And he also causes TPKs. So you want to make sure that you look up all of these TPK encounters. You want to read it ahead. You want to do the work, right? You want it to be hard, but you also got to gauge your players. If you've got a bunch of like Dark Souls kids, they might be like, "Oh, this was amazing. We all died. It was awesome. I want to do this again." And then that's okay. But if you've got a bunch of soft boys and girls, if you got a bunch of softies that are like, "Hey, this is like Critical Role, right? Where we all love each other and hold each other's hands," and you're like, "It could be." Yeah, you want to make sure that you kind of figure that out, right? Yeah. So, yeah, somebody pointed out that the starter set, the starter set tries to give you advice on how to make sure it's not a TPK. Sure. But you know what? You know what's going to help with that? Doing your research ahead of time. Because there's something even better than the starter box. It's called the internet. And it's going to have so many resources to help you with that. Yeah.
One thing in my case, while we're running here, I know looking at it, and I guess because it's how it's set up on Foundry and how everything is set up, and there's so much tight math here, they have a weak button for all the monsters.
Beautiful.
So you can just make them weaker.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
So that's what I'm planning to do for all of them.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm also running for 3 people instead of 4. So. Yeah,
my advice for the
I'm gonna have a DM. I'm gonna have a DM NPC.
All right. I was about to say the next bit of advice is people are gonna get real mad when they hear this, but have a DM NPC. Don't have a DM NPC who's you with brass balls. Okay, don't do a self insert of your favorite character, and they're just so much better than everybody else. No. The best example that you could ever have of this is Final Fantasy VII. Both the original and the reboot. The tutorial for Final Fantasy VII is people asking you, Cloud, the character, how to do things. Because they're such dumb shits. They don't know anything. Like, they're so weak, and you're so cool, and they're learning from you. So the idea is, don't have a DM NPC who is this incredibly experienced, higher level person that's like babysitting them or whatever. Have it be a new recruit that has joined up with the adventuring party, and they are asking like for advice, and they are helping out, and they are a body on the field, but they are never like hogging the spotlight. They are never stealing the kill. They are never ever delivering some big main character energy. You want to make sure that you have an extremely low key DM NPC. When I say have a DM NPC, I mean have a voice in the party. Okay? This could be their roadie, this could be their lackey, this could be their biggest fan. If they don't have a bard in the party, make this character a bard, and the bard is just like following them around, trying to because they're like, you guys are the next big thing. I'm gonna be here when it happens, right? That's a great trope for a DM NPC. If you've made a horrible mistake and you have 6 or 7 people, don't. That's my other big advice. When you're trying,
play a different board game.
Yeah,
play Monopoly.
When you're trying to bring people into the hobby, they need attention. They need help. You can't be there helping that many people learn the game. If it's 5th edition D&D, I don't want you to bring more than 5 new people in. I mean, people at all. Don't bring more than 5 people. What you see on Critical Role and all this other stuff, that's not real life. That's like thinking that porn is real romance, okay? That's not real D&D. A group of 6 or 7 people, that's a special, situation. That is a group of people that are okay with that ecosystem. But, bringing people in to the game, they're going to have questions. And if you have a lot of people, they're going to be afraid to ask those questions. if you've got the minimum amount of people, they're not going to be afraid to ask those questions. They're going to be open, and they're going to ask questions, and they're going to want to learn, and they're going to want help, and they're going to want to try things out. They're going to be okay and comfortable taking longer on their turns because they know that there's not a bunch of other people waiting for their turns. Honest to God, you want to run small groups when you're bringing people into this stuff, and you're going to want to pad the missing spots, as it were, with DM NPCs, because then you don't have to worry about rebalancing the game, and you can demonstrate as an experienced player how the game runs, but you don't ever need to outshine them with it. So, yeah. You don't have to ask, all your friends to come at once. If you mention it to your friend group and like 7 of them want to play, split it up. Split it up into 4 people and 3 people. But do not try to run 6 or 7 people through their first time of D&D. That's a terrible move. It's a terrible move. Whoa. All right. So I think we covered a lot of stuff here. Do you have any specific questions?
I guess I'll talk about like kind of what some of the things I'm been doing to prep. So because the group of people I'm playing, they all play video games, and I kind of used the analogy to try to hook them in the first place to get them to come and try it out. But I know one of them is like, hey, I really like paladins from other video games and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, maybe I should make some like how you were saying, you make simple character sheets for them. I was thinking of trying to just ask them like, hey, what kind of stuff do you like in terms of like fantasy characters? Like if you were to make a WoW character, what would you what type of class would you want to make? And then going through and trying to see if I can make a simple character sheet for them for this. And that way, also me making the sheet would also let me know what they can do. So I'll have that knowledge there. So that's one thing I'm planning to do for this. So there's that. I guess let me see here. With this, I guess one thing I might do now is also try and get them to log in before the day, just so I can see like, hey, how's it running on your laptop?
Oh no, and that's great too. We only talked about what the DM or the GM can do to get ready for this stuff, but it takes everybody to really make it a success. So yeah, definitely give them everything that they could need up front, and don't scare them with like all of the content. Don't hand them a 640-page core rulebook. But but say, hey, I have this cheat sheet you might want to look at, and I really love this like intro video if you have time to watch it, but you don't have to. And these are the prefab characters, so maybe look through them and see if there's anything you like. If there isn't anything you like, let me know, and I could try to make something like in your example, the Paladin, so that you have something to play, for the adventure. And then, like say, hey, I know we're not playing till next weekend, but it's going to be online, so I'd really like to test everybody's equipment and see if, and see how everybody's equipment's running. That way I can make adjustments on my end or try to help you guys make adjustments. Maybe they got a busted-ass headset. Well, now they have a whole week to order a new headset. Nothing worse than a bad headset. Nothing worse than a bad headset.
I know.
That's a great idea. Having a little bit of a leeway there before the game to test out equipment and stuff. Beautiful.
Also, none of them have ever been on the forward, so they gotta make accounts and go through all of that and
you do not want to be doing that the night of. You don't want to do that the night of. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess do some prep with them before game as well. Okay.
Oh, chat points out, make sure they understand what a tabletop role-playing game is.
That's true.
Before they get started. Yeah. What I tell my day job people is I say, it's an improv group with math. And I say, my job is I am the, master of ceremonies. I don't know what they call the improv director guy, but I'm out there feeding them scenarios, and then they're doing improv, and then anytime there is a contest of wills or a question about how something might have turned out, that's where the math comes in. And I said, but that's pretty much all tabletop role-playing game is. It is improv with math. And man, does that make it sound terrible? It sure does. But like, I feel like it's the most accurate thing ever. And then
whenever I've had to explain to somebody, I always said it's like a board game with improv.
A board game with improv. All right, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
And then to compound it, though, I'll then say, but it's a cooperative experience. So
Yeah.
no one particular person is there to win. Like, the idea is everyone working together to tell the best possible story that they can. And so I feel like that's a good way of kind of putting it out there that, you know, we are playing a game, but it's not so much so that one of us can win. We want to be able to look back at the story that we told and be like, damn, that was a cool story. Like, that's what the goal is. The goal is to look back and say, we told an amazing story while we were hanging out. So it definitely helps. Butler Log points out, all starter boxes contain simple rules. The players don't need to see anything else. The full rulebooks will terrify them, as they are bigger than most textbooks that they would have had in school. Absolutely. Yeah. So for sure, if you're playing online, like digital, right? Then you know, I mean, you have PDF of the rules. Just, you know, you know what I'm saying. You paid for the beginner box. You know what I'm saying. Make sure that they get a copy of those starter rules in advance, and tell them you don't have to read these. At least look over this cheat sheet, or at least look at this like quick, 15-minute intro video or whatever, if you have time. But this is all you need to get started. Like, do not let them know that the game has a 640-page rulebook, or that 5th edition D&D has a stack of rulebooks about 4 feet tall. Don't tell them about that stuff. Just tell them, like, yeah, this is the stuff you need to get started.
Okay.
Sweet.
Okay.
All right. So what else you got?
Let me see here. Okay. I guess the question here is, I know you said that about casters.
Mm-hmm.
In the beginner box, they have a wizard and a cleric.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard that looking at it, and now that I know, looking at it, the whole prepared caster thing is very, very kind of crazy in Pathfinder and very complicated. So I was thinking of probably switching them out for one of the simpler ones, where it's like, hey, these are all the spells you know.
Uh-huh.
And you can just, these are the ones you can cast, and that's it. And not have them worry about all that. Because with the beginner box, you're going through and I don't know I guess I'm going a little bit too far ahead. I don't know if we're going to play again after this first time, So I don't know if I should worry about it now, or should wait until they go through it once and see if they figure it out.
Well,
so, I mean, how they feel.
My understanding is that in the beginner box, you don't even have time for like a long rest. I don't think, right?
You can.
Okay.
You're right below it in. So whenever you finish, you just go up and go sleep.
Okay. So the Vancian spellcasting, all right. The Vancian spellcasting is a nightmare. It's a nightmare, but it's honestly not any worse than the 5th edition one. We're just used to the 5th edition one.
Yeah.
That is why I would go in. If they've never played before, they don't know any better. I would go into all the spellcasters and I would change it to X number of times per day per spell. I would make them all like at-will abilities that they can use it a certain number of times, and then they have to rest to get them back.
Mm-hmm.
Because then it just is like, these are the spells that you can cast, and that keeps it very video gamey too. So if they're familiar with more video gamey stuff, they're like, I can only I can Shocking Hands as many times as I want, but I can only do I don't know all the spells yet in Pathfinder, but I can only Magic Weapon twice per day, guys. So once I've used my second magic weapon, I have to sleep before I get any more magic weapon spells. And then just keep it as that. Don't tell them like, well, now that you rested, you can look at all these spells, and you can pick out any combination of these spells that you want, and you could upcast these spells, and you could downcast these spells. No. Yeah. So just give them a set spell list, and then have it refresh, and that's it. Video game that shit all the way. I'd video game that shit all the way. So,
right.
And then if they're like, wow, this is great, like, can we keep playing? You could be like, sure. And then the people that are interested in the spellcasters,
here's that 400.
Yeah. You're like, now that you're hooked, check out this 640-page rule book. Let me get my forklift out real quick as I go and grab it for you. Beep, 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 beep. Like, what? What is this? If I went to someone's house and they were like, hey, yeah, we're playing this game, here's the rules, I would be like, I'm out. I gotta go. I mean, that was my Pathfinder story since it came out, Pathfinder 2 story. You know, like, they sent me the book, they sent me the digital book. I was like, man, I ain't reading 640 pages. Are you crazy? I don't got time for that. Yeah. Yeah, but Quinstone, if you tell someone you only need to worry about chapter 9, I mean, that's a horrifying thing to say to someone. That is a horrifying. You must be an academic, because most people, if I handed them a 640-page book and said you only got to worry about chapter 9, they would be like, yeah, I'm out. Yeah, nope, that ain't happening. Why only chapter 9? What are the other 8 chapters? That's crazy. Yeah, so Butler Log points out the beginner's box doesn't even mention preparing spells. So yeah, they get the spells that are on the sheet, and when they rest, they get those spells back. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. He points out that it's listed as Burning Hands once per day, Magic Weapon once per day, Heal 3 times per day. Perfect. It sounds like these Paizo people really know what they're doing over there. That's crazy.
Yeah. I guess because it's probably like listed like that in the actual in-person on the sheet, but like, you know, because it's the character sheet in Foundry, it's not.
Right. So you're going to want to doctor that Foundry character sheet to make it resemble the more simplified version. And that, as I mentioned at the beginning, that's the immediate difficulty of VTT is that it gives you everything up front. And then you have to go and take the extra steps to remove that extra stuff, or it can appear to be very overwhelming, you know?
Yeah. I guess what I'll probably do is before we get started, you know, while we're doing that introduction and telling everybody about the character, I'll open with a character sheet with them and like, hey, you know, you see the area that looks like a little, like, you know, magic wand? Click on that. These are the things you can do. Whereas you see that 2 that's above level 1, that means you only have these 2 spells, and that's it for the day. If you guys want to use more, then, you know, maybe you guys have to come back to the inn, you know, at some point while you're in the dungeon.
Yeah, and I mean, you can describe it as, I'll describe it to new people as like, these are your super moves. 4th edition was really good for this because 4th edition, face to face, we had cards, and nothing makes it more tangible and real to someone where their resources are at than cards. I'm like, you see this card? When you use this card, you flip it over, you don't have that card anymore. So think about it before you play this card. You only get to play it once, and they're physically holding it. They know they're looking at it all the time. It was beautiful for that. And that's the kind of attitude you need to kind of instill, is like, you have your basic bitch shit that you're just known for, right? That's your cantrip spells, that's your weapon attacks, that sort of thing. And then you have your special stuff, right? Your super moves, as it were. So I don't know. I think that'll get it across pretty well.
Yeah. Okay. I think that helps. I guess I got to make things extra simple.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid in the first couple of fights to explain everything, right?
Yeah.
So when your turn comes up, when your DM NPC's turn comes up, when your monster's turn comes up, you explain everything. Explain
Yep.
everything. So you say, oh, the blaze rat is going to use a stride action. That means he can move up to 30 feet. But he only needs to move 20 feet to get next to you. Now he's done. He can't move anymore. He's going to spend another Pac-Man to... I don't remember the name of it. When you intimidate people, what do they call it?
Demoralize.
Demoralize. Now he's going to demoralize you by screaming super loud and like tearing at his own face and lashing his tail back and forth. And this is how demoralize works. He's going to roll this, and it's against your passive this, and this is where I'm getting that information from. And you have to teach, and you have to show as you go. And then you say the reason that he demoralized you is because now you're going to be easier to hit. Wink, right? Like, maybe you should try that. I don't know. Maybe you shouldn't attack 3 fucking times, Larionis. Maybe you should try other stuff. Sorry. And then, so then you say, and now he's going to use the strike action on you. And he has, bite, and he has a tail whip. I'm just making this monster up. But then, you say he's going to use a bite on you. And you explain every step of the way.
Yeah.
And it's going to feel tiresome because you play a lot of games, right? And it's all second nature for us. You know what I mean? Like we just roll through it. But for new people, you've got to explain everything, and you've got to add that panache. You know what I'm saying? Because like if you're just like, well, he's gonna move, that's one Pac-Man, and then he's gonna use demoralize, that's another Pac-Man. I rolled this. That means that you have this. Okay, now he's going to attack you. He does. You take this much damage. No. You got to really get in there. You got to use your words. You got to paint them a picture. You got to get them involved.
Yep.
And then and then if you're trying to build that role play, you got to say like, okay, so he's demoralized you. What does that mean for you? Like what is Ragnar? How does Ragnar look when he's been demoralized by this scary monster? And it's like, well, Ragnar, he's too tough to get scared, so he's just being extra cautious. And you're like, beautiful role playing. Here's another fucking hero point. Choke on these hero points. Take them all, baby. And then you then you keep going. It doesn't just bite you. Like how your character just took 8 points of damage from this Cinder Rat's bite. Like how would they react to that? Like really put them constantly, keep pulling them in and putting them into the scene. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
After you've got them hooked, then you could be a lazy sack of shit like me and just be like, I don't know, monster attacks, claw bite, sound good? I don't know, whatever. It's your turn now. Yeah.
That's something I definitely need to practice too, because I know I don't do that enough. Well, in terms of like describing how the monster's acting and stuff like that.
It's a difficult situation, right? Because like you don't want to spend the whole session describing everything. Like
for sure. A 2-second description, 3-second description. That's it. But that's something I don't do.
The first time a monster does something, describe it. But we don't.
Yeah.
The green dragon biting you is the green dragon biting you. But the first time it bites you might be worth talking about. The first time that breath weapon comes into play, you better describe it, right? Don't just say like it drops breath weapon. I feel like I'm lecturing myself here because like I've been so tired lately. I just feel like, dang, like I should be running every session like it's the first time. I guess that's kind of everything in life though, right? You should treat everything like it's the first time. Wah. All right. Well, morale hit. That's fine. All right, any other questions?
Okay.
Any questions from chat? Any suggestions from chat?
I'm pretty good. I think I got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Butler Log says 3.5 hours into the session, it bites. Its bite hits you with the 2310 damage. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Yeah. You gotta make it. Yeah, you gotta make it feel like the first time. You know what I'm saying? That's how relationships get started. You put your best foot forward. You really wow them on that first date, that second date, maybe even the third date. Once you know they ain't going anywhere, that's when you take your belt off and let your gut hang out. Start farting in front of them. That's when the real Dungeons and Dragons get started. You know what I'm saying? That's the real Dungeons and Dragons.
And they start doing it in front of you, and then you know you have you're you're together forever.
Absolutely, but just like a good relationship, you got to keep that communication open, because they might come to you and say, Dom, remember in the beginning when you used to describe the cinder rat lashing its tail back and forth and gnashing its teeth?
Mhm.
What happened to that? What happened to that, Dom? Why'd you stop doing that? Yeah.
Setting expectations right now.
Beautiful. Yeah, exactly, Orpheus. You want to get this relationship to the poop with the door open stage, you know? Then you're golden. Then you're golden at that point. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, no more
Alrighty.
weird relationship analogies, because we're at 1 hour, and that's our podcast. So hopefully this has been somewhat useful for people that are trying to run a game for newbies. Remember, face-to-face, way different situation than online, and in my opinion, way less work, maybe more money, though. Because you are going to want the good snacks, the good drinks, and the dice bag with the complimentary set of dice in it, nice minis, and a cool-looking table, and comfy chairs. So it is kind of a pricey setup there. That's if you, best case scenario. Obviously, you could still enjoy the game if you have everybody sitting around the coffee table, eating some Doritos. That's fine too. But if you're really trying to impress, try to go all out on that noise. Online, though, man, you better be a master of your VTT. You better have some real good mastery of the rules. And then you want to do your research ahead of time on the adventure that you're running, or the starter box that you're running. Make sure there's no pitfalls, no TPKs to watch out for, or anything like that. Listen to the advice you're reading online. Don't just look at it and move on. You want to make sure that you get with your players ahead of time. Give them the bare minimum materials that they might be able to take a look at. Do not overwhelm them with too much stuff. And then you want to make sure that they have the technology needs met before game night. Make sure they've got the VTT accounts built. Make sure that they have headsets that work. Make sure that they are on your Discord server. Make sure that they can connect to Discord chat. Have a couple of voice chats just to make sure that they know how that works. Do not make the assumption that every person on Earth knows how Discord works, knows how the internet works, knows how their fucking computer works. Definitely give it the care and the time ahead of time to make sure on game night everyone is able to log in comfortably and get started. And do not be shy with your hero points and or inspiration. Hand that shit out like candy. You are trying to entice and reward the good behavior. So you're trying to teach them what the game is about and reward them for playing the game. So definitely be loose with your hero points and your inspiration. All right. Anything we missed? Any other tips we should throw out there as we close this out?
No, I'm good.
All right. Sounds good.
Chat has anything?
Yeah. Chat, any last words of wisdom? Just more stuff.
Right.
Just more stuff about pooping with the door open. All right, that's our chat, everybody. All right, I hope everybody has a great weekend. Saturday and Sunday coming up. We got Solasta tomorrow night. That's probably the most exciting thing that's happening. We've also got Dungeons & Dragons Inside our Dungeons & Dragons Sunday night. That's pretty exciting. And yeah, hopefully you'll join us for some of that. Otherwise, we'll be back here next week, probably talking about humor in games. That's what we're going to talk about next week, unless something radically cool comes up. We're going to talk about humor in games. How much? Too much? Not enough? So we'll see how that goes. Hope everybody has a great weekend, and we'll see you next time.
All right, take care.